You are standing outside on a clear night. You look up. A streak of light crosses the sky and disappears. You make a wish, or you don't, and you go back inside. It means nothing to you. It has always meant nothing to you. But 12,900 years ago, a night like this one may have ended the world your ancestors knew. Not with a bang they could explain. Not with a monster they could fight. With fire that fell from a clear sky, and cold that followed it, and a silence that lasted 1,000 years. This is the story of the people who lived through it. And somehow, you are here because they did. Picture the world before that night. The Ice Age is loosening its grip. Mammoths still wander the plains of North America. Giant ground sloths pull leaves from trees twice your height. Your ancestors are spread thin across the continents. Small bands of hunters following herds, reading weather in the wind, trusting a sky that has always, more or less, behaved. Then something changes. Scientists who study this period call it the Younger Dryas. For over a decade now, a small but persistent group of researchers has argued that this era began with a catastrophe from space. Geologist Richard Firestone and his colleagues proposed that a comet, or a swarm of comet fragments, broke apart in the atmosphere and slammed into the ice sheets covering North America. Not one impact, possibly dozens, scattered across a continent, all within moments of each other. Picture it happening to someone. A hunter crouched by a river, waiting for a herd to pass. The sky brightens like a second sunrise. Wrong and sudden. Heat rolls across the land before the sound even arrives. Then the sound arrives, and it does not stop being loud for a long time. You do not know what a comet is. You do not know what an atmosphere is, or a fragment, or an airburst. You only know that the sky, which has never done this before, is now doing this. And your instinct, the one built into you over millions of years, says one thing clearly: run. The immediate devastation would have been bad enough. Wildfires torn across dry grassland. Forests turned to ash in hours. But the truly dangerous part came after the fire. Dust and soot thrown into the upper atmosphere can block sunlight for years. Researcher James Kennett, working alongside Firestone, pointed to a strange layer in the soil from this exact period, found at sites across multiple continents. A layer packed with tiny glass spherules, nanodiamonds, and platinum. The kind of debris you'd expect from an impact, not from anything happening naturally on Earth. Beneath that layer, mammoth bones. Above it, almost none. It's worth pausing here. Not every scientist agrees with this impact story. Researchers like Nicholas Pinter have challenged the evidence, arguing the strange layer could have other, more ordinary explanations, and that the extinctions blamed on the impact may have had other causes entirely. The debate is still open, but the world that came after that boundary layer is not in dispute. Temperatures that had been slowly warming suddenly plunged. Europe, on the edge of shrugging off the Ice Age, was thrown back into cold for over 1,000 years. Whatever caused it, the sky itself seemed to turn against the people living beneath it. Now imagine you are one of those people. Not for one bad season, but for one bad lifetime. The herds you depended on begin to vanish. Mammoths, already stressed by a changing world, decline sharply across this period. Ground sloths disappear. Saber-toothed cats, dire wolves, entire categories of predator and prey that had existed for tens of thousands of years thin out and then blink into extinction. You do not understand why. You only understand that the meat is harder to find, the winters are longer, and the summer that used to bring relief barely comes at all. Here is the twist most people miss. This was not simply a story of survival by accident, it became a story of survival by adaptation. And adaptation is the thing your ancestors were unfairly good at. When the old certainties broke, humans did something almost no other large animal on the plains could do. They changed what they ate. They changed how they moved. Groups that had specialized in hunting the biggest, slowest, most reliable prey shifted toward smaller game, toward fish, toward plants they had previously ignored. Archaeological sites from this period, across North America and Europe, show a sudden broadening of diet, a technology shift toward smaller, more precise stone tools built for smaller prey. Anthropologists sometimes call this kind of shift diet breadth expansion, a dry academic term for something that was, At the time, a matter of staying alive one more winter. This flexibility is easy to take for granted now. You do it every day without noticing. When a job disappears, you retrain. When a relationship ends, you rebuild. When the plan falls apart, you make a new one, usually within days, sometimes within hours. That instinct did not come from nowhere. It was carved into your ancestors during centuries when the old plan simply stopped working, and only the humans willing to try something else were still alive to try it again the next season. There's another detail buried in this story, easy to miss, that changes how you should think about it. The people who survived this period were not the strongest. They were not the ones with the best weapons or the biggest camps. In many cases, the record suggests small, mobile bands did better than large, settled ones, because a smaller group could move faster when the mammoths disappeared and the rivers changed course. Big and specialized was a trap. Small and flexible was an exit. Ask yourself honestly, which one are you built more like right now in your own life? The specialist locked into one plan, one skill, one way of surviving, or the generalist, uncomfortable but adaptable, willing to abandon a strategy the moment the evidence says it isn't working? Your ancestors who lived through the Younger Dryas didn't get to choose their answer in advance. The sky chose for them. The ones who happened to already be flexible, already spread across varied environments, already comfortable eating whatever the land offered instead of whatever they preferred, were the ones whose children survived to have children of their own. There's a quieter, stranger thread running through this story, too. Some researchers studying oral traditions have noted that flood myths and stories of fire falling from the sky appear across wildly separated cultures, from indigenous groups in North America to traditions in parts of Europe and the Middle East. Nobody claims this proves a shared memory of one single event passed down for thousands of years across oral history. Human storytelling is inventive, and fire and flood are obvious dangers every culture would eventually imagine on its own. But it's worth sitting with the coincidence for a moment. Whether it's memory or convergence, humans have always told each other stories about the sky turning dangerous. Maybe because once, for a group of people you are descended from, it actually did. By the time the Younger Dryas ended, roughly 1,000 years after it began, the world had reorganized itself. The climate warmed again, this time for good. Agriculture, something almost nobody on Earth had needed before, begins showing up in the archaeological record not long after, in places like the Fertile Crescent. Some researchers have wondered whether the pressure of that long cold snap, the repeated failure of the old hunting lifestyle, is part of what nudged certain groups toward planting seeds instead of only following herds. Nobody can prove a single cause, but the timing is hard to ignore. So here is what actually happened, as far as anyone can responsibly say. Something struck the Earth, or came close enough to burn it, around 12,900 years ago. It is still debated exactly what and exactly how much damage it caused directly. What is not debated is that the world that followed was colder, harder, and less forgiving than the world before it. And the humans who made it through were not the ones who fought the disaster. They were the ones who noticed quickly that the old rules no longer applied and built new ones before it was too late to matter. You are not standing on a mammoth hunting plane tonight. You will probably never see a comet fragment split the sky over your home. But you carry, quietly, the exact trait that got your ancestors through their worst 1,000 years. The willingness to let go of a plan the moment it stops working, the instinct to try the smaller, stranger, less familiar option when the big obvious one disappears. So the next time your world changes without warning, the next time the thing you relied on simply isn't there anymore, remember this. You are standing outside on a clear night. You look up, a streak of light crosses the sky and disappears. And somewhere behind you, quietly, without asking permission, some part of you has already started adapting.